Welcome to Vishesh Educational Videos. In this video, I'm explaining about the database system environment. Database system environment means I'm going to include all the users and also all the hardware and also all the software components. Total environment, the total database system environment I'm going to explain in this video. If you are not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel. Please don't forget to like the video and also please don't forget to share the video with your friends. To get the notification of my new videos, please click the bell icon. Right, so let me begin the explanation of database system environment. So here, this is the diagram for the database system environment. Right, I'm going to explain this diagram in two parts. Right, so first, the above figure is divided into two parts here. The top part of the figure refers to the various users of the database environment and their interfaces. Here you can see the top part of the diagram contains the various users. You can see there and their interfaces. What are the users here? DBA staff, casual users, application programmers, parametric users. So this top part explains about these users and also what type of interfaces they are going to use here. You can see DBA staff can interact with your database or a database environment using the DDL statements, privilege commands. Casual users can use interactive queries. Application programmers can use application programs. See, for different users, we have different interfaces. So in the lower part, it shows the internals of the DBMS responsible for how you are going to store the data, how you are going to process the data, right? It's going to show about those internal architectures. Top part about the users, lower part about the storage details, right? Now I'm going to discuss this top part and the lower part in a more detailed way, right? See, and one more important thing, the database and the DBMS catalog are usually stored on the disk. So DBMS catalog means what is the metadata I explained. That metadata can be stored on the disks, and also to access to the disk is controlled by the operating system. You can see there. So the whatever the metadata that can be the catalog, the system catalog can be stored in the disk. So and that access to that disk can be controlled by your operating system, right? And the next thing, along with that, many DBMS have their own buffer management module, right? Because own buffer management module can be used to schedule disk read and write. If you want to do the read and write operation to your catalog, so you can use your own buffer management tools, right? And also storage data manager will also be there. I'm going to explain this in detail. So far I'm giving just a little idea about this. Storage data manager, what it does means it controls access to DBF information that is stored on the disk. So I told you the metadata is stored in the disk, right? So that access to that particular catalog will be maintained by storage data manager, because as the name suggests, so this manager is going to access the data that is stored on the disk, or also if the data is stored in the database also, that access to the data that is presented in the database also, it is maintained by the storage data manager only. Hope you are understanding, guys. So top of figure, that is per part, it shows the interfaces for the DBA staff, casual users who work with the interactive interfaces to formulate queries. You can see there. So DBA staffs, casual users, they are going to use interfaces such as DBA staffs use DDL statements like create, discussed in the previous videos. So right, so DDL statements, create statements, truncate, alter. So they can use the DBA staffs are mainly responsible for creating the contents, altering the contents, right? That's why they can use those types of statements, privilege commands, grant permission, revoke permission, those types of commands. Casual users, they can use interactive queries, right? So you see, application programmers who create the programs using some host programming language. For example, I can write the application using C programming or using .NET or using Java, whatever the lab programming language I can use. But if you use any programming language, it doesn't matter. It should be in a position to access your database. Any programming language you can use, but your application programmer should write the program in such a way that it should be in a position to access the database. You can see application programmers will write the application programs. Application programs can access your database. Right. Next, parametric users who do data entry work. That means they do the repeated works, more frequent works, right? So they can use a predefined transaction. You can see there. So parametric users can use compiled transaction, that is predefined transactions. I told you. Suppose if you want to save the program, you can use a function key F2. If you are doing some things repeatedly, you can use the keys to make your jobs easy. Hope you are understanding, right? Next, the DBA steps were for defining the database. I told you, whatever the alterations, whatever the creations, whatever the permissions you should give, right? The DBA steps will do that, right? By using the interfaces like DDL statements and privilege commands. Hope you are understanding, guys. Next, so now I'm going to explain about the role of each step in detail. Very simple. See here, DBA step. So DBA step will give the command in the DDL statement, right? So DDL compiler process the statement that is given by the DBA step. For example, you can see in this diagram, the DDL statements are compiled using the DDL compiler, and it will be stored in your metadata catalog, because whatever the creations, whatever the alterations, that should be purely related to metadata. Metadata will be affected, right? That's why that will be taken care by the DDL compiler, definition language compiler, and those changes will be stored in the metadata array catalog. Next, the catalog includes, I already told you, names, sizes of files, whatever the internal details that will be there in the metadata. Next, casual users. So casual users interact using some form of interface which we call interactive query interfaces, right? So and also you can see there, for the casual user we have a query compiler and query optimizer. So casual users going to interact with the database using the queries, right? So you need to, query should be compiled, right? It should be compiled and it should be sent to the database for accessing the database. That is taken care by the query compiler. And query optimizer, what it will do? Query optimizer, what it will do means, it is concerned with the rearrangement and possible reordering of operations. Some operations may take more time, so that's why what it will do some rearrangements. It will improve the optimization of the query. Time consuming will be reduced, so it will eliminate the duplications, redundancies. So that's why the time consuming will be reduced during the execution. So query optimizer task is that, so it should do the rearrangements, it should do some reordering of operations, eliminating the redundancies to improve the performance. So casual user interact with the database using some queries, right? Hope you are understanding, guys. Next, application programmers. You know that application programmers will write the programs using some most languages such as Java, C, C++, right? So commands are sent to the DML compiler. You can see there in the diagram. So application programmers is going to pre-compiler. How we are going to compile it means using a DML compiler. Application programs will be taken care by DML compiler. It is going to compile it and it's going to make the changes into the system catalog. You can see here, right? So comments are sent to the DML compiler for compilation. Rest of the program is sent to the host language compiler. Yeah, one more important thing I told you. When application programmer write the program, some statement will be in the host language. Whatever the language is used, those statements will be in that language. For example, if you use a C programming language, some statements will be in the C language and some statement will be in the form of database languages. That's why Host language compiler is used to compile the languages that are in the programming. For example, if it is in C programming language, that language statements will be sent to this host language compiler, right? And the remaining statements that will be in the database, that will be in the SQL format, that will be in the database format, that will be sent to the DML compiler. Hope you are understanding. Host language means C programming statements will be sent to the host language compiler. Database related statement will be sent to the DML compiler. Hope you are understanding, guys. Right? So, and one more important thing, the object codes for the DML commands and the rest of the programs are linked forming a cannot transaction. For example, in this application programmers may use some repetitive commands, more frequently used commands, right? More frequently used commands through a cannot transaction. Cannot transaction means repeated transaction. If you want to do some repeated transaction, application programmer must give a way to use that. How? For example, by using function keys. For example, I told you an example in a bank withdrawal transaction where the account number and the amount may be supplied as parameters. You can use only one key to do these things. Application programmers should provide a way for doing this. Next, so I will move to the lower part. I don't want to drag this. So see here, in the lower part of the figure, we have a runtime database processor. So what is the task of the runtime database processor? See here, we have a runtime database processor here. So what is the task of the runtime database processor? So runtime database processor executes the privileged commands, and its executable query plans can be used by runtime database processor, and the cannot transactions also executed by runtime database processor. So whatever the privileged commands that is given by the DBA tab, and whatever the cannot transaction commands can be given by the application programmers, the DBA commands, queries and transaction commands are taken care by the runtime database processor, and they are processed in a database processor and directly interact with the database. Right, getting, guys? Hope you are understanding the concepts. If you have any doubts, please post your doubts in the comment section. And also, the runtime database processor is work with the system catalog and we update with the statistics. You can see there the arrow mark from runtime database to the catalog. You can see that arrow mark. Runtime database processor along with the DBA commands, along with the queries, it can interact with the system catalogs also, and it can change the statistics of the catalog. Hope you are understanding. Next, it also works with the storage database. You can see there the runtime database can also work with the storage database manager, right, for carrying out some low-level input read-write operations between the disk and the main memory. You can see there, you can see the arrow mark here. See, so runtime database processor can work with the storage database manager also, right? To carry out some input-output read-write operations to the database can be done using this storage data manager, right? Next, the runtime database processor handles other aspects of data transfer such as management of buffer, concurrency control, backup, recovery, whatever the task you should do. For example, if you want to do backup, so that is also taken care by the runtime database processor only. If you want to do recovery, the runtime database processor take care of that recovery also, right? So all these tasks, concurrency control, if any two users try to access the database at the same time, right, the concurrency should be there, right? So those things are taken care by runtime database processor. Hope you are understanding, guys, right? Next, right, along with this, so far you understood how the different users can interact with the system database. Now you will going to understand about the utilities, right? Some extra components that will be helpful for you while using this database, while interacting with the database. So what are the different types of system utilities I can use? These utilities will make my task easier. So DBMS have some extra utilities here. So common utilities can be loading. These utilities can be used to load the existing data files, right, into the database. If you want to load some existing data files, you can use this loading option. It automatically reformats the data and stores in the database. So it will automatically reformats the data, whatever the format you want, it will automatically reformats the data into that format, and it will load the data into the database. This is not compulsory unit. This is the extra utility you can use. Hope you're understanding, right? So example, you have for loading the programs, you have conversion tools also available, like IDMS. You can see there. These are all examples. These are utilities, just utilities. You can use them to make your task easier. Backup, for example, to create the backup copy of the database, right? You can dump the entire database into a tape. You can store your entire database into a disk. You can use these utilities, backup utilities. It is also used to restore the database in the catastrophic failure. If any power failures happens, if you want to restore it, you can use these backup utilities, right? And also incremental backups based on the times. For example, a backup can be done based on the weeks, based on the months. These incremental backups can also be done, right? And it's also used to save the space. Hope you're understanding. Loading utility, backup utilities also can be used along with this total environment. Next, database storage reorganization. Sometimes you want to organize your storage in a proper way. Thereby you can access your data in a more simpler way, right? That's why these database storage reorganization tools are used to reorganize a set of database files into different file organization, mainly to improve the performance. You can organize your data files based on some characteristics, right? So these tools will help to improve that performance. Next, performance metrics. Suppose if you want to know how your database is performing, you can use this performance monitoring tool. It will monitor database usage and provide statistics to the DBA. It will give the details to the DBA. Thereby you can observe the performance of the database, and if you want to make any changes, you can do that. Administrator can do the changes. You can take the decision and you can make the changes. And also we can have the utilities for sorting the files based on the file, based on some characteristic. We can sort the files based on the creation date, based on the size. We can sort the files. It will be helpful for us, right? And also if space is more, we can use the tools for the compression. We can reduce the size and we can store it, so we can save the space. Hope you're understanding. So we can use these extra tools along with this environment to make our task easier, right? Also, what are the additional tools we can use? Means case tools. So case tools means these are the extra tools we can use while writing the ER diagrams. These tools we can use. It will make our task easier. Not only the data dictionary. So data dictionary, this tool will automatically create the metadata. This will be helpful for us if we use this data dictionary tools. Information repositories tools can be used. For example, it stores the information such as designs, decisions, application program description, user information. I can use these tools. This is a separate repository maintained for this usage standards, application program description. In the same way, application environment, development environment tools I can use. Why I can use this development environment for because GUI development, right? Application program development, this is a separate part. I can use this application development environment for developing the interface, and also application program development also. Suppose if you want to take care of the communication between your database and your client, right? If you want to take care of the communication between your database and the user, you can use this communication software, which is going to allow the user at locations, remote locations, to access your database without any problems using the network. You can use this communication softwares, right? Because database needs some connectivity also. That's why you can use this connection software, communication software, along with this information repository, along with this application development environment, case tools, right? Right, guys? So along with the total development environment, you can use these extra tools to make your task easier. So Hope you are understanding the concepts. If you have any doubts, please post your doubts in the comment section.